Hi YouTube friends. I'm going to do something a little bit differently today. It's a two-parter. There is an unboxing and a non-unboxing. Now, the unboxing one is one that I have opened before and has been open for a while. I had to check it immediately and find out what it is. And it's been sitting there and the box has been at the bottom, so the box has had a little bit of damage on it. So there's no way I can boxify it and kind of open it that way. So I'm just going to pull that up and give you an example. It's still covered inside. So let's get started. Now these are things that every one of you has heard about. You don't even have to be a fossil collector to know about them. You just have to have seen movies. Of course, talking about Mosasaurs. Mosasaurs are of course, marine reptiles, which are closest related to Komodo dragons and other monitor lizards, and also snakes. There's been arguments as to which they've been more closely related to, but now it seems like it's more settled upon monitor lizards. It's an extremely wide family group. There are so many species, so many families of them. Probably one of the most successful types of reptiles in general in the Mesozoic. I haven't done a study and counted the different families and species and stuff like that, but it's definitely up there. These guys completely took over all the oceans. All the habitats they were in, they took over. There were smaller ones, which were the mesopredators, and there were large ones, which were the apex predators. Wherever they were, there was one of them was going to be an apex predator of whatever habitat they were in. These guys are considered the direct cause of the fall of the plesiosaur-pliosaur family. There were still plesiosaurs that lasted with them right up until the end of the dinosaurs, and there were even some pliosaurs that lasted very late, but pliosaurs very few, just like one or two very late, and then one of them lasted in fairly well into the Cretaceous, and the pliosaur tooth that I have, that I pulled up before, that I unboxed, is one of those, and may be the last species that survived. But their heyday was over, and it's because of the Mosasaur, because of how successful they were. I mean, once they just got in the water, they just completely took over. Had the KT extinction not happened, very likely all the pliosaurs would have been wiped out. It's interesting to imagine how far they could have gone. There were sharks that they still competed with, very, very large sharks, larger than great whites. Probably the average shark at those times was mega size, around great white or larger. But that didn't come close to the largest mosasaurs. The largest mosasaurs that we found are in the 50s, like 55, 56 feet, I believe. That is pretty impressive. That is absolute sea monster. Those were pretty far out though. Those didn't come up to shore. But they really didn't have to fear anything. Those were true apex predators. Nothing to fear except for others of themselves. That's it. Everything had to fear them. Before I go any further, let me unveil this awesomeness. Too big for me to get into one frame, so Let me get around and show you. Large Mosasaur jaw. Very cool. Everything from the eye socket on, pretty much. Mid-size, relatively small Mosasaur. This is. This came from the Corigba mines, and they're very hard because that's a very heavy Mosasaur habitat, or was. There are 12 different species known there, and it's very hard to tell them apart. Now, an expert could look at these teeth and possibly break it down to a family. If the family only has one or two species in that area, it's potentially possible to narrow this to a species. I would have to ask around quite a bit because Mosasaur teeth generally are very similar. These appear to be a little bit thinner and longer than the average, so this might be able to be narrowed down to a family. So I will have to look into that. There's one family I know it's not. I know it's not the Globidens family because their teeth are round, used for crushing things. So as far as right now, this could be one of 11 different families. Now, this might look big, but it's really not. Let's see. I don't have anything to measure in front of me, but let's just say that's about a foot or something. You probably have maybe another foot to the back of the skull. So a skull that's 2 feet long. Sounds big. For a Mosasaur, no. It's really not. Still a big animal. Still a very vicious animal. Would annihilate a human. It would be the apex predator in many coastal areas, even over sharks. But definitely not up there with the apex predators of Mosasaurs. Very cool. Unfortunately, there's not too much to go over with these. If you would like, I could definitely go further on these, but I wanted to get to a second piece also. I would be very happy to spend more time going on these individual pieces, especially I'm going to, actually after this, I'm going to immediately start asking around to see if anybody can identify the teeth. So maybe I can come back to this. If anybody's interested, I mean, I don't want to just do that if nobody cares. So if anybody's interested in seeing more about this piece, hopefully learning more about this specific animal or species, please let me know. I would be thrilled to, but I don't want to make another video of the same things if nobody cares. So let me move this beauty out of the way and get to the second part. Okay, now here's the other unboxing that has been unboxed for quite a while. Quite a bit of padding, yada yada yada. Okay, let me get the box out of the way now. Mosasaur bone again. Now, just like the other one, this could be from any number of species. This is a fairly large, it's from the same place, the Corigba mines. It is a very large specimen. I mean, it's not, as far as Mosasaurs go, it's probably on the high-low, maybe getting into the mid-size area. This is not the exact shirt. I think it's the shoulder girdle. I will have to look into that again. But it is the top of the arm, basically, where our humerus would be. This might actually be the humerus, I'm sorry. This is where the other bones for the flipper would begin. There would be some small kind of round bones here, and then the phalanges, the longer finger bones, would go out from there. Now this is the largest bone in the flipper, but depending on the species, some have long, thin flippers, some have much shorter ones. So until I knew the species, I could not guess at how big this flipper actually would be. It could probably be anywhere from just a foot down after this point to potentially 2 feet down after this point. I'll put in some pictures of some different Mosasaur flippers and show you what I mean. The difference is quite extreme. Also, this bone gives a little bit better of an idea of the size of the animal. I believe that this bone is not as different. It's not as varied as the length of the phalanges and the flipper itself. I think it's much more of a standardized size bone for any of them, so it may be easier to tell the length of, or the general size of this actual individual animal. Again, impossible to tell the species. Unlike the skull that had the teeth, this has nothing like that. This just cannot be narrowed down. There may be some individuals or some species that you can rule out of it. Like there might be a couple of them that have a unique shaped humerus where this just does not match. And unless this is one of those, I'm lucky and this is one of those unusual ones, if there are any, this is going to be just like, it's going to be one of those 12 species. So can't really narrow it down more. Both of these bones the skull and this came from the same person. Somebody that I've got a number of Mosasaur pieces from in the past. A lot of the big ones, all of my major Mosasaur bones came from this person, I believe. They were one of the top sellers as far as I can consider. At a time, they had generally from just the Morocco area. But that includes quite a few, like there's large crocodiles that lived in those areas, and most importantly, Spinosaurus. That's the only place Spinosaurus aegypticus is found, in Morocco, in the Kem beds. So they had quite a few Spinosaurus pieces, and I tried to get so many of them, but some of them just barely went out of my range, and if I was there the last second, I would have been, oh, I'm just going to be irresponsible, screw it, like, click. I could have gotten, but some of them just well beyond my means. And they were some amazing pieces, like entire, like 2-foot hip bones, like maxillary bones. I'm sorry, I should be a little bit more scientific than people come and go. And this person goed. So, they still occasionally have some impressive teeth for sale, but they don't sell bones, like significant things like this anymore, which is very, very sad. And it could be because they're unable to get them, which is very possible. Morocco, the government had been cracking down on fossil collecting and fossil, especially fossil deportation. That's a big one. So that cut off a lot of great finds from the United States and from other countries and stuff. which is such a shame. I mean, these rules and stuff, they're understandable to a degree, but the problem is that they're not always well thought out. So they might stop one thing that people kind of consider negative, but then open it up to like other negatives that are worse. I mean, there's just, people don't really think things through all the way, and sometimes it ends up being a negative, and it's definitely a big negative that we can't get a hold of some of these amazing specimens anymore. But I would say it's good that they're being kept in the area, but I think it just makes the black market a little bit stronger there. So I would say kind of like a double-edged sword, but not really. I mean, it kind of seems like it's more of just a super sharp one-edged sword. Negative for us, positive for the black market. I don't know. That's, I mean, political stuff. I'm not here to talk about that. I don't know about that. Whatever. Ignore what I'm saying about that. I just know that it has become difficult because the government has cracked down on deportation of fossils. So it is very possible that the bones that I have now, the large mosasaurs and things like that, will be, at least for a long time, will probably be all I'm able to get. In the future, things change, and I do occasionally see some for sale. They are pretty expensive. At some point when I can afford it, sometime down the line, I might jump on that. We'll see. But I'm very happy with these beautiful specimens. Obviously, there's some damage down here, a little bit here. If it was perfect, I probably wouldn't have been able to afford it. If you're collecting fossils and you're turned off by anything that's not perfect, find another hobby. Beautiful bones. I mean, there's a lot they can tell you, and especially with the teeth and the jaws. I really love looking at them, and very gently, of course, touching the teeth and thinking about, wow, these teeth gouged into so many animals. These teeth killed animals right here. This tooth went inside so many different animals. Just, I mean, there's just so much story that bones can tell, and jaws of a predator are really up there with, I mean, you're overlook that and just still kind of like, wow, what these teeth have done, what these teeth have seen. It's really mind-blowing. And I think, I don't know, maybe that's not a common thing for other people, but I would imagine that's something that gets a lot of people into fossils, and that a lot of fossil collectors are able to do, is to really imagine their fossils, not just look at them as mineral replacements for some old bones and stuff like that. And like, I mean, a lot of people do look at them as just trophies. And you know what? Whatever. To each their own. But I think it's so much more amazing than just a trophy. I mean, I still see them as the animal and what they've done, what they've been through. That's why, and I have some that I will show you at some other point later. Bones that have marks from being bitten or from being just attacked or healing. I did show an Edaphosaurus bone with a Dimetrodon bite in it so far, and that's a perfect example. Just a big bite. It's more imagination. It's more imaginative when you know something specific happened, like these teeth specifically bit into so many animals. It's hard to describe. If you can think about it, if you can imagine it, you can. If you can't, you can't. So, but again, if you guys want to see more of these and hear more about them, specific ones, please just let me know, and I will be happy to. I just don't want to flood my videos with repeats and stuff that other people, most people, whatever, don't want to hear again. But a lot of the videos I rush through and could go longer, and the bones might deserve more. So, but this is my longest video by far, so let me cut it short now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Please give me a like. Please subscribe. I do have a Patreon. I haven't even mentioned that in a while because that's not the biggest deal. I really would like to get to a point where I can start giving things away and raffling and stuff like that, but that I don't see that happening anytime soon, so I'm just kind of not worrying about that for the time being. Once I have another real income, maybe I can start doing some little things, but we'll see. Anyway, thanks so much for your time. Love you guys. Take care, and I hope to see you soon.